so Cindy's been a client for a couple of years now, and is really. I remember when you started with us, one of your biggest problems was business development, right? You had clients, but getting new ones was like a challenge for you. And I'm going to because Francis did most of the work on the mindset side with you, and how you kind of crossed that bridge from it being hard to going from, I think you said you weren't really doing any retained or very little retained business to mostly,
None.
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 Okay, I didn't want to misquote. To mostly retain now, and that was, you didn't really. I think we enhanced your ability a little, but I think what really changed for you, if I'm not mistaken, was the way you thought about business development.
Correct. You guys have done an awesome job. And one thing I'll say with RU, it's a holistic approach. It literally is a coach, a one-on-one coach, a mindset coach. You have Tina Marie who checks in with you quarterly just to kind of chat with other things that may be helpful with your business. And then you have your community of like-minded professionals that also want to grow and learn and succeed. For me, I started my business 23 years ago, and the first 10 years were awesome. I was making placements every week. They were clients I've had forever, but they were all contingency. And what I realized is two things. One is I was working really hard, and even though I was making money, it was not where I wanted to be financially. And I was working technically kind of for free. When I started really assessing from the training I've received here and really realizing what my value is and how clients can really utilize me, and I'm helping them either save money or make money in their businesses, it really made me step back and see what my value was. A lot of it was confidence. I think also having my own business for so long, you become very complacent and comfortable. And I went from a large organization where I had metrics and KPIs and systems in place and goals, and I had to meet to, hey, I have my own business. Guess what? I get up every morning and rollerblade. Yeah, maybe I'll make a marketing call. Maybe I won't. I have clients. I've had the same clients for 10 years. And I fell into that trap. And I think I was at the point where I just wasn't having fun anymore. And even though I was making money, I didn't feel like a true trusted advisor, although I was exclusive. And so what I had done is actually, Mike, I started with you guys in 2018 at the end, and then became officially with Ignite in 2019. And you guys keep pulling me back. I keep saying, oh, maybe I don't need them next year. And then I do. But I'd say like the adjustments is getting the clarity on your business. That extremely was helpful, not just the revenue piece, but as Francis was mentioning, your work-life balance, like what's really, really important to you and how do you manage that and create that? And I think the shifts I made was in 2019 is when I decided I am not going to be contingency anymore. And I went to my existing clients first.
Pause 1 sec. I like what you just said. I decided I wasn't going to be contingency anymore.
Correct.
So when you went, just pause there. I mean, before you get to the process, because this is going to help people, is what did you go through to make that decision? Like, it had to be scary.
Oh, it was. I was petrified. I mean, I have clients that have told me I'm doing a fabulous job, but I was petrified to ask them for an upfront engagement fee or deposit, thinking that they wouldn't work with me anymore. And I remember my first client, it was in 2019 in March. And I said, okay, I'm just going to do it. I had gone through our training. I had looked at my intake notes, my searches. And I said, okay, well, officially this year, our new business model is requiring an upfront engagement fee for a deposit to execute the search. And then my client said, okay. And I thought, was that easy? I mean, because I said, because what I did, of course, I went through, and RU will show you, there's a very clear process in doing a very good intake so you can make the client feel comfortable. But what I wanted to do is test it out with my existing clients, because I had already proven to them that I can deliver. And then I thought, well, that wasn't that hard. And then I just started with all my clients and I said, okay, hey, Mike, I know we've been working together for 10 years, 20 years. I'm in the process now of changing the way I do business. And at first, like I thought, should I grandfather them? Should I mention, maybe I'll grandfather you, but moving forward, this is what I'm going to do in my business. Then I thought, forget that. I'm doing so much work and I know I'm bringing value. Everybody needs to have a retained or engagement agreement. And I got to tell you, last year with COVID, I had 5 or 6 new clients, all engaged or retained. No question.
So that's new clients. You didn't. So for the
new
skeptics
now
out there, they're going, well, they already know Cindy and she's a known
all
quantity.
All new.
So here's what there's another thing you just said. I want you to rewind a little bit. Belief that I provided the value. So you went like at a soul level, right? I know
Correct.
I'm good. I know I'm good. And there's a lot of you that work contingency that know that don't want to take the risk. She took a huge risk going to that client, right? Because you're right. They can tell you to go pound sand and some will. Right. And when you apply this process to every new prospect, are they going to buy a retainer? No, most won't. Most won't. But you know what? How many do you need that give you a retainer to double your billings and work less? Right.
Well, that's the thing is I thought everything was fine, but I'll tell you, this year will be my largest revenue year. Last year exceeded 2019, even though it was COVID, and it is working smart. And I also probably on at least a monthly basis, I turn away 2 to 3 new clients because they're either not in the functionality. The other thing I learned was to increase the types of positions and functionalities I want to work on, higher level roles, increasing fees, and the upfront engagement fee or retained. And that's just in my mind now. That's the only way I work. And I have that confidence. And Mike, when I remember when I first started, I was petrified. I was like, well, I have to be contingency. At least I'm exclusive. What will happen if they say no? And it is a process of reflecting to the client that energy, as Francis said. It's so true. Because when you go in and this is it. No negotiation. Work with me or not. I mean, not literally saying that. Well, maybe you can to the clients you work with. They get it, but they're fine. I mean, it's been amazing. It's been really amazing from that perspective, just shifting that whole thought process.
That's the main thing is, there's techniques to do this, right? The techniques, if you applied the same techniques, Cindy, and the other mindset was of I'm scared to death, maybe they won't take it, maybe they won't like me. You probably wouldn't, at least from the new clients. I don't know what would have happened with existing because there's a relationship there. But with the new clients, the new prospects, I just know I've done it myself. You're not going to get the result because they can smell, they can pick up on that fear.
They can pick up on the fear. Absolutely, they can. And also, I think that the whole process of coming back to being a corporation, technically, well, I am an S corp, but I mean, when you're working as a solo operator and I've had mentors before, but I've never had a coach that's going to make me accountable. And if I could say one thing that's so helpful is having that accountability, and having someone to give you so many resources. The library is just phenomenal with resources and templates and information. And I've actually found an accountability partner through RU. And we've been meeting every Friday for the last 3 years, when we initially met in, I think, 2019. And that's been a great help. But, overall, it's just feeling more professional, more organized, not living your business day to day, knowing you have business coming in and you have positions. And my whole world was around placements. And I think from a metric standpoint too, what I've realized is not focusing so much on the placements, but on the process to get to the placements, which is your marketing calls, your recruiting calls, your submissions, your first-time interviews. And if that is all aligned, the placements will come. And I can tell you, I know, Francis, I talked to you last month. I had 4 fallouts, literally all the same week. And I would have well exceeded my revenue this year. And normally I would have been pulling my hair out. I would have been a wreck. I would have been stressed. You know what? I stepped back and I thought, you know what? I'm still following my plan. It's going to fall into place. It wasn't meant to be. They weren't the right candidate. What could have I done differently? I first asked myself with the candidate and the client, and then now what do I do moving forward? But in the past, I would have been a wreck, Mike. I mean, that was a lot in 1 week to lose.
And that for me, Cindy, I really just want to commend you on all of these things, because the work, you're so consistent in applying not only the mindset, but the strategy. When you make a decision, you do take action. And that key point that you just said there, where you step back from your own thinking, I think that could be super helpful. Would you elaborate a bit on that? How, like you said, the racing thoughts of like, oh my gosh, this thing just happened that I really don't like.
Right. It was all in one week and it was every day. And I thought, oh my God, is it what's going to happen tomorrow? This is just ridiculous. So I stepped back and I thought, what can I do differently? Because I can feel like even as I'm talking about it now, my face is getting red. I'm stressing out. I can feel that negative energy and that stress. And I just had to take a deep breath and I had to think about the situation of, step back. What could I have done differently with the candidate and with the client? Did I see any red flags through the process that perhaps I was so anxious in making this work that I pushed through? And then I had that conversation with the clients. There was 4 clients. It was just so bizarre. And then actually, you know what? I kind of laughed because I was like, this has never happened before. This is insane. And what's interesting, talk about what you put out. So that same fee that I would have achieved with those 4 candidates, I've made 2 placements since then and had 2 retained searches. So I've haven't quite yet, but almost compensated for that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, isn't that interesting and just so powerful how something that could have crushed us and then thrown you off course in action and energy for how long? How long do you think? I call it the pre-mindset days for myself.
Oh, I constantly would be thinking about it. It just would be in my head constantly. And what I now try to, I don't want to say compartmentalize, but if I'm going to schedule time to be upset and angry about a loss or a challenge, and then, move on and see what I could learn from that. And I think you all helped me. Now I'm speaking like Francis, y'all.
We all do now, Cindy.
It rubbed off.
So y'all helped me with that mindset too. And I have, with the primary drivers, I have that I'm very visual. So I have that above my desk, the primary drivers. So I'm constantly looking at it. I have LBs. I have my matrices that Francis has taken us through. So when something comes up, I try to think to myself, wait a minute, is this a limited belief? If rewind is a limited belief. And it has to be, as Mike said, repetitive and consistent. You have to have it in front of you at all times. And I think what's the benefit too of the group is, you can attend these meetings and RU does great masterminds and training. But when you take that back, good luck implementing it on your own, because you need someone to constantly, I think, again, make you accountable and keep it fresh. And you've all done a really good job of that. I mean, I'm going probably into my 4th year with y'all.
Y'all.
And it's because you're constantly changing it up too, which I like. And now I'm at the point where, okay, I want to move the next step will be retained, like all retained. Like, how do I, that's still kind of scary for me. Asking for the deposit wasn't that scary. Now it's the next big step. And then outsourcing more. That's another thing I would recommend. Is I was always concerned about outsourcing. Someone wouldn't do it good enough. It would cost too much money. Now I look and see, what do I like to do? Talk to clients, prep candidates for interviews, debrief with candidates, outsource everything else. That I would never have said that 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. I know I should never say never, but I wouldn't. I've totally changed my outlook on that.
That's amazing, Cindy.
Yeah, thank you. My work-life balance is too important now, and my value.
That conversation even exceeded my expectations, because at some level, including me, every one of us has it might be a different challenge. It might not be getting a retainer. It might be hiring. It could be anything for you that you've thought something bad is going to happen, and which is why you've done. So what's 1 or 2 big takeaways from what you heard from Cindy that you can apply to your business?